This is Land of Havilah, 2 Chronicles 11. In the last chapter, Rehoboam had no idea how much Israel came to resent his father. He tried to quell the revolt by sending just one man to them, his man over forced labor, and it took him totally by surprise when Israel stoned him. Coming up, he thinks it's a job for the army. Verse 1. When Rehoboam had come to Jerusalem, he assembled the house of Judah and Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men who were warriors, to fight against Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam. But Yahweh's word came to Shemaiah the man of God, saying, Speak to Rehoboam the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all Israel in Judah and Benjamin, saying, Yahweh says, You shall not go up, nor fight against your brothers. Every man return to his house, for this thing is of me. So they listened to Yahweh's words and returned from going against Jeroboam. Comment, Yahweh stripped Israel from Rehoboam, and Rehoboam won't get it back. Quote, He snatches away, who brings it back? Job 9:12. In verse 4, Shemaiah the prophet told Rehoboam the revolt was of Yahweh, and to Rehoboam's credit, he listened and sent the army of Judah and Benjamin home. Coming up, Rehoboam will turn his attention from offense to defense. Verse 5. Rehoboam lived in Jerusalem and built cities for defense in Judah. He built Bethlehem, Etam, Tekoa, Bethzur, Soko, Adullam, Gath, Mareshah, Ziph, Adoraim, Lachish, Azekah, Zorah, Ajalon, and Hebron, which are fortified cities in Judah and in Benjamin. He fortified the strongholds and put captains in them and stores of food, oil, and wine. He put shields and spears in every city and made them exceedingly strong. Judah and Benjamin belonged to him. Comment in verses 5 through 12, Rehoboam built 15 cities for defense, but we would say not that he built them, but that he built them up. 13 of the 15 cities have been on record for a long time. He didn't build them from scratch. In verses 11 and 12, Rehoboam was very forward-thinking. He, quote, fortified the strongholds and put captains in them and stores of food, oil, and wine. He put shields and spears in every city, end quote. They had everything they needed in the fortified cities to withstand an invasion and prolonged siege, that is, assuming Yahweh would be with them. Probably if a foreign army approaches, the general population will take refuge in one of the fortified cities, which they call strongholds. Coming up, Levites from Jeroboam's Israel are defecting to Judah, and the reason why. Verse 13. The priests and the Levites who were in all Israel stood with him out of all their territory, for the Levites left their pasture lands and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem, for Jeroboam and his sons cast them off, that they should not execute the priest's office to Yahweh. For he himself appointed priests for the high places, for the male goats and for the calves which he had made. After them, out of all the tribes of Israel, those who set their hearts to seek Yahweh, the God of Israel, came to Jerusalem to sacrifice to Yahweh, the God of their fathers. So they strengthened the kingdom of Judah and made Rehoboam the son of Solomon strong for 3 years, for they walked 3 years in the way of David and Solomon. Comment in verses 13 to 17, the priests and Levites from all Israel stood with Rehoboam, meaning they abandoned their Levitical cities and pasture lands in Israel, which had been assigned to them hundreds of years before Joshua 21, and they came to Judah. Why? 1 Kings 12 explains it. King Jeroboam didn't want his subjects to go to Jerusalem for worship because he thought it would turn their hearts back to Rehoboam. Therefore, he invented a new religion that didn't include Jerusalem, Yahweh, the law of Moses, the Levites, the priests descended from Aaron, or anything else that would remind them of their connection to Judah and Jerusalem. Jeroboam built golden calves in his far south at Bethel and in his far north at Dan. He told Israel, These are your gods, Israel, who brought you out of Egypt. He appointed priests for his new religion who weren't descended from Aaron or even from Levites. Collectively, the Bible refers to Jeroboam's religion as the sin of Jeroboam. Every successive king of Israel perpetuated that sin. So straight away the Levites in Israel abandoned their homes and came to Judah. And in verse 16, not just Levites, but individuals from every tribe, all who set their hearts to seek Yahweh. This was very important because when we hear talk about the 10 lost tribes of Israel, supposedly lost because they were taken away captive by Assyria, It overlooks the detail of verses 13 to 17. There's no such thing as a lost tribe of Israel. God preserved remnants of them all. Hundreds of years later, the remnant who came out of the northern tribes went into the Babylonian captivity with Judah, from which they later returned. They weren't affected by the Assyrian captivity of Israel, from which there was no return. As an example, we can cite the New Testament prophetess Anna, quote, "There was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher," Luke 2:36. Asher's allotment was as far north as it gets in Israel, but Anna and Phanuel are a testament that the tribe of Asher wasn't lost. In verse 17, Judah was strong for 3 years because they were faithful to the way of David and Solomon, meaning they were faithful to Yahweh. Faithful Levites and other Israelites moving in added to the effect. It'll always be the case that the faithful make strong and the unfaithful make weak, despite opinions to the contrary. In Israel's case, the covenant was that Yahweh would strengthen them if they were faithful and weaken them if they were unfaithful, Leviticus 26. But for a host of reasons, it applies to all countries that the righteous make strong and the wicked make weak. Quote, "Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people," Proverbs 14:34. In Psalm 107:33 and 34, speaking about a country with a lot of potential, quote, "He turns rivers into a desert, water springs into a thirsty ground, and a fruitful land into a salt waste for the wickedness of those who dwell in it." Verse 18. Rehoboam took a wife for himself, Mahalath, the daughter of Jeremoth, the son of David, and of Abihail, the daughter of Eliab, the son of Jesse. She bore him sons, Jaish, Shemariah, and Zaham. After her he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, and she bore him Abijah, Attai, Ziza, and Shelomith. Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, above all his wives and his concubines, for he took 18 wives and 60 concubines, and became the father of 28 sons and 60 daughters. Rehoboam appointed Abijah, the son of Maacah, to be chief, the prince among his brothers, for he intended to make him king. He dealt wisely and dispersed of all his sons throughout all the lands of Judah and Benjamin to every fortified city. He gave them food in abundance, and he sought many wives for them. Comment in verse 18, we don't know Jeremoth, the son of David. Maybe he was the son of a concubine, because David's concubines had sons, but they weren't listed by name. 1 Chronicles 3:9. In verse 21, Rehoboam particularly loved his wife Maacah, daughter of Absalom. Absalom was David's son by a different wife. Genetically, Rehoboam taking Maacah as wife would be the same as if they shared one great-great-grandparent. In verse 8, Rehoboam chose Abijah as the chief of his sons, which means he made him first in line to the throne. Of course, Abijah came by his beloved Maacah. In verse 23, Rehoboam must have learned his lesson at the top of the chapter when he was so clueless about the condition of his kingdom. He kept tabs on all Judah by putting his sons in all the fortified cities. Verse 23 says this was a wise move. He must have been thinking, if I'd lived in Israel when my father Solomon was king, I could have told him he had a big problem up there. 2 Chronicles 12 is next.